Hey everybody, welcome to School Sucks Live. Today is what? It's like September 13th?
It is.
And my co-host tonight, Jason Osborne. How you doing?
I am doing well, sir. Good to see you again.
Now, you've been traveling, huh? You missed...
I did. I just spent 2 days on my motorcycle traveling across country.
And
like,
that's...
an old 70s movie with Jack Nicholson.
Awesome. Yeah. That's really cool. And that's going to be a big topic for our after show, just to tease it a little bit. Why Osborne will never go into another airport in his life.
That's the plan.
Well, did you have a good 9/11?
I did. I conducted a little reenactment with my son and his little toy planes.
Whoa. I didn't know you were going to go there. Now, see, this just became a socially acceptable thing to say because somebody new is listening to us and they're saying, did the one host of that show just wish the other host of that show a happy 9/11? That's, my goodness, that's unacceptable. 9/11 is now a holiday.
It is.
And we can wish people happy holidays. 9/11 is now called Patriots Day. Do you know this?
I only know that because you told me before the show. I'm a little confused because I believe that there's a Patriots Day as well in like March or April. So I don't know how they can have two.
Why not 365?
Every day is Patriots Day.
Sure. Now, patriotism, we kind of know what that's about, right? Nationalism. On this show, we kind of talk about the opposite, don't we? Critical thought, reasoning, and we are currently doing this big series on logical fallacies, logic and logical fallacies.
Correct.
And this is a very, very important thing for people to understand because it helps us get away from all of these fallacious arguments. Understanding the traps that people try to set for you with their rhetoric and in their conversations allows us to learn our way out of all of that stuff that is force-fed to us for 15,000 hours of our lives through the government schooling process.
That's right.
So, I'm actually very excited about the show tonight because we are going to start exploring our second fallacy. And last week we had Larkin Rose. You missed Larkin Rose, but I thought it was great. We had some debates with callers, which was pretty awesome. And one caller wanted to call in and talk about the Constitution. Familiar with that document?
I've heard of it.
Yeah, he was real into it and actually even just produced a whole commentary, like a full feature-length show. He spliced all the video clips I put up together and did an hour and 45-minute commentary on me and Larkin Rose.
I am both excited that someone went to all that trouble to do that, to perpetuate this conversation, but I'm also kind of sad that he had that much time on his hands.
It flattered me. Well, he thought it was an important subject. So in his defense, you know, he knew a lot about like the finer details of, you know, constitutional scholarship. And, you know, I appreciate him doing that. I think that that's great that someone would put that much work into trying to prove me wrong.
Yeah, that's excellent.
And Larkin Rose wrong. So are you familiar with Larkin's book, The Most Dangerous Superstition?
I have heard of it, not read it.
Okay. What do you think the most dangerous superstition is?
Guess. Man, the state.
Yes. This myth of authority that there is this thing called government that has legitimate authority over all of us, and Larkin goes through this whole book dispelling this myth, right? And
so the myth is that is around the legitimacy of that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So we kind of did a little cliffhanger at the end of the show. What happens when people outgrow this myth? What's waiting for them? Right? And the second fallacy, because this was called the argumentum ad verecundium, the appeal to authority. And all government is defended and rationalized through some form of argument ad verecundium. Right. But when people say, no, that's dumb, that doesn't make any sense, I've outgrown that, you know, then the next thing that they're often introduced to is not even a real logical fallacy as much as it's a thinly veiled threat. But we have to talk about it here because of our relationship to the state or the people calling themselves the government and the state. It is probably the thing that if we ever intend to speak out about our rejection of the myth of government authority, it's probably what we're going to encounter next. And it is called the argumentum ad baculum, the appeal to force.
I thought you were going to say the appeal to Scott Bakula.
Wouldn't that be something? That's another one. Logic is advanced, and there's a lot to go. So you're way away. Like at the beginning level where we are, we're way away from the appeal to Scott Bakula.
Okay.
But it's coming. It depends on, you know, how advanced we get with this.
I got you.
So tonight, I'm very excited. We have 2 guests.
2?
And they
at the
are...
same time?
Yes.
Oh.
And they are both experts on this subject. Our first guest is going to be Michele. They're going to be on, yeah, at the same time, like you said. But the first one is Michele Seven. And she has been an activist. She'll tell us more details, but for over 20 years, right? So she is a veteran in, definitely an expert in understanding the this threat of force, this appeal to force. If you don't do this, I will hurt you, and I will, or something bad will happen to you by my hand or by my command, or, you know. The other gentleman is named Derrick J. Freeman. Not a veteran, but definitely put himself through an accelerated course in this subject over the course of the last year or so. So before we go any further, and before we give this an actual definition, I want to bring them both on the show. Derrick and Michele, are you guys there? Not a veteran.
Yes, good evening.
Hi, Brett Osborne. Derrick J here. Happy to be with you tonight, talking about logical fallacies and talking about Derrick J's victimless crime spree.
Excellent, excellent. So had you guys ever, even though you have both seen plenty of this, this fallacy in real life, were you familiar with such a thing?
Well, I studied philosophy in school, so I'm familiar with fallacial arguments, as you know, from the formal perspective of studying fallacies in that way. Sure.
I was not. I am not a scholar of logical fallacies, but I know a threat when I hear one. So, you know, that's what this really seems to be to me. Well,
I thought that we would give it a definition, and there were a couple of examples that I thought were somewhat amusing, even though this is a very serious subject. But the actual description is, the argument, and they put it in quotes here, because it's not an argument, is actually an explicit or veiled threat. In effect, the argument says, accept my position or I'll punish you. The phrase ad baculum is a Latin phrase meaning appeal to the stick. Baculum was a walking stick, as I understand him. Naturally, such sticks were sometimes used to give an opponent a good drubbing. The appeal to force is sometimes confused with the appeal to fear. The distinction is this. The appeal to force is a threat. The speaker will personally do something to punish the listener. And of course, we can swap out speaker and listener for whatever situation we're in where we encounter this. The appeal to fear is only a warning. The speaker is foretelling something bad will happen to the listener, but is not threatening to be the cause of that harm. So some examples of the appeal to force is the parental one. It's bedtime. Don't give me any sass, or I'll give you a spanking. And also a historical one from the Spanish Inquisition, Osborne. How about this? I'm going to try to read this in my best Spanish Inquisition voice. The Grand Inquisitor, that was 40s radio guy. Sorry, that was 40s radio guy. I always confuse 40s radio guy with the, I'm going to read it in my regular voice. The Grand Inquisitor might be very interested in your views denying the dual nature of Christ. Popular thing during the Spanish Inquisition. So those are, like I said, both thinly veiled threats. Now, this is the part that I thought was interesting. Of all the fallacies, the ad baculum fallacy may be the most difficult to reconcile with some form of legitimate reasoning. The ad baculum fallacy does not so much imitate good reasoning as announce that every effort at reasoning has come to an end. One more time. Every effort at reasoning has come to an end. Now violence will be used instead. Persuasion is not the point, only compliance. For this reason, I have doubts that the ad baculum should be considered a fallacy at all. But like I said, it needs to be covered right here on our second installment, or second specific fallacy that we are dealing with on this show. So our two guests tonight, like I said, have a lot of experience, and when we return, we are going to get into some of the details. We're going to talk about Michele's experience and Derrick's documentary, Derrick J's Victimless Crime Spree. We will be back in just a couple minutes. This is School Sucks Live. Give us a few segments, and then we'll take some of your calls if you want. We'll be right back.
Did you know that free aid is a mutual aid